Okay, I feel like Star Trek needs no introduction, but perhaps Star Trek the video game. Star Trek the video game, would that be correct? I'm thinking of again. Needs some. Brian, could you tell us a little bit what you guys are showing at E3 here today?
Sure, we're really proud to be here today to show off a new demo we have for the game and introduce some new stuff. We had some new news that broke at E3. We announced that our cast from the film, who voiced all of our Enterprise crew, are back to be in the game. So the demo you just saw, we've got Chris Pine and Zach Quinto and Simon Pegg coming back to the roles. We have everybody else from the crew, and also our big announcement of our villain. You know, people have been asking us for years, what are you putting in? Who is it? Who is it? And today we were, really proud to announce that it was the Gorn. But for us, it was really, a labor of love. We've been working on this game for a while. We had the new reboot that J.J. Abrams and his team did in 2009, and we all got together from a studio and from a filmmaker standpoint and sat with them and said, hey, let's make a great game. Let's make a great game based on Star Trek. And we've been working, diligently at that for, a while now.
Now this sits in between the original movie, should we say, of the fresh reboot, and the sequel that's coming up. How did you guys fit in with the storylines to make those interconnections?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have a completely unique and original storyline that takes place after the events of the last movie. So remember the end of the last film, Kirk and Spock come together, they're still sort of fighting, but they come together, the rest of the crew is there, they're on board the ship, and this is like I said, a very original storyline that takes place right after that. It was very important to us to make something that could stand alone. We feel that what we have going in the game from a narrative standpoint and from a thematic standpoint really could stand alone as a cinematic experience, and we're really happy to bring that forth in a game.
And obviously the big part is you're playing Kirk and Spock, who may be sci-fi's best or worst married couple. Trying to keep the characters exactly as they are in the movies. Obviously enough, the reboot's got its own feel for Kirk and Spock. How do you guys go about making that correct for the game?
Well, like I said, we have to make the most authentic Trek game that we possibly can, so I can talk about it from two ways. One, from just the physical way they look in the film. We've gone through and scanned every one of the major actors so that their likeness in the game is spot on for what they are in the films. And also, I think it's from working directly with the teams that we have. So we have a great, relationship with our filmmakers and Bob Orsi, who's one of the writers and producers of the film, and a great collaborator we have on the game, just to make sure that they're there. Getting the voices of Chris and Zach also, and their banter. Nobody can play them better than them. And working with Marianne Krozik, who wrote the God of War series. So there's a great creative sort of pipeline we have where everybody can sort of brainstorm ideas and they can go back to everybody to make sure that they really are authentic. And I think from the demo, the thing I'm most proud of is when you come out of it, you feel like you just watched something from Trek. And it feels like a 13-minute slice of the film, and that is the hardest thing to pull off. So the fact that we can stand here today and say that, I feel really good about where we are.
It always feels like Kirk is running into trouble. He does say at the start, it could be a job for an away team, but it's just too much fun to get down there. With the demo that we saw, you guys are retaining that sort of very clean, clinical artwork that we saw actually on the Enterprise, and certainly as in being embellished for this from the movie. How important was it to get that same look?
Well, it has to be. I mean, like I said, you can't have the Enterprise, and we consider her a character, amongst herself. And when we started working on the game, it was like, how do we, again, make her look right? And the way we do that is we get all of the files from the guys who work on the movie, from the effects team and production design team, and when we create new areas that maybe you haven't seen in the film yet, like the crew quarters and some of the other stuff, going back to that pipeline and saying, hey, are we being authentic? And oh no, you should change this and make that work. And then just from a gameplay perspective, again, you saw in the demo, we challenged ourselves. It's like, how can we make the Enterprise more of a part of the action here? And we got a call from our filmmakers who said, guys, you're in the middle of a big action scene. You have the biggest warship possible. Get her involved. Let's have her call in an airstrike. So we immediately, you call your writer, you call our great developer up at Digital Extremes and say, how does it work narratively? How can we do it from a gameplay perspective? And it all sort of comes together for those big moments.
And with the gameplay mechanics being that sort of cover system action adventure, did that seem like the logical choice to make for doing a Star Trek adventure?
Yeah, it's a nice balance that we have to have. I mean, Star Trek has never been just a pure-on action, franchise, and it's a lot about, exploration and discovery and positivity and learning, and also has amazing action sequences. So we have to find a nice balance. And, in the game, you get to use a tricorder, which is a iconic piece of technology from the Trek universe that actually works perfectly for a game. It's not a contrivance we had to come up with. It's like, I got to figure out some kind of equipment that's going to be able to figure out the world. We have a tricorder, so to be able to scan and learn and discover stuff and then throw the action in. And you mentioned the pristine world of the Enterprise. The great stuff we have in the game is later on when you get into the sort of the gornness of it all, we can dirty everything up and really make it nasty to have that nice contrast.
Who's the audience for this game? What we noticed during the demo is the moments when either Kirk or Spock were in peril, there was a generous amount of time for the other player to take the kill shot, or the stun shot,
Sure.
should I say. Is that more just for this demo particularly, or is it because the audience you're expecting will be a sort of all ages group?
Well, I mean, Trek seems to, and the only reason the franchise has been around as long as it has, because it does appeal to a lot of different people. And, you know, the people that grew up with Trek now have, you know, families and kids and grandkids who they've brought into the fray. And it works because it does reach across all of those things. So for us, it's like, how do we make sure we appeal to, the Trek fan and to the hardcore gaming fan and make an experience that everybody can sort of play along together?
Okay. Well, lastly, obviously wrapping up, when can players expect to get their hands on with it, and what formats should they expect to see it on?
Well, we're going to release on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and on PC, and expect the game in early 2013.
Well, listen, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Can't wait to play it.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.